As we come on the air, there's breaking news. John Bolton, former Trump national security advisor, and Bush 1, his third national security advisor's home was raided in Bethesda, Maryland, about 7 a.m. this morning Eastern time, and his office was raided just a little while ago. And we'll be monitoring that. In fact, let's jump right to cable news in just a moment. Not quite yet, but in just a moment, we're going to jump to the quad split and see how all this is being covered. But we'll be talking about that quite a bit. Hadn't planned on that story, and that's what happens when news breaks. There's other things breaking this hour, at least potentially. We'll tell you about those too. Larry's here in for Sean. Just as you know, this program is based on the network news division's morning meetings, where they're supposed to run through the day. And often, if news broke during the meeting, you face this choice of, do you just sit around the morning meeting talking about the breaking news and turning the audio up on the TVs in the conference room where the meeting's anchored from? Or do you just say, all right, well, the story's playing out and we got to still do the business of the morning meeting? And in my experience, could go either way. Sometimes we just all sat around, watched TV and talked about that one story. And then after 30 minutes of that, somebody said, hey, there's other stuff we need to talk about. And there's shows that need to be produced. So let's all, go back to work at the end of Hill Street Blues. Or sometimes we just say, well, okay, that's breaking. Let's talk about that for 20 seconds. And now let's run through the rest of it. So I'm not sure which way we're going to go here, but let's dip in to cable, please, and see how everybody's covering it. Start with the Fox audio, if you would.
To sign off. They could find. They had a very specific list of what they're looking for. Multiple sources say this is related to classified documents. What's not clear if these potentially are the classified documents that Ambassador Bolton, after he was fired from the first Trump administration, was trying to hold on to as he wrote his book back during the first Trump administration, if that's related to that. We know his attorney at the time said that there were no classified documents, but that's a little bit murky right now at this point, so we're waiting to see what's happening there. Separately, at his office in Washington,
Fox's
D.C.,
Justice Department correspondent David Spunt.
Ambassador Bolton is there. He's been talking to agents, and we saw some FBI agents leave with a couple of SUVs with some documents outside the back of the office there, as you see a live look there. So, as
Mark, Bolton was a Fox contributor at one point, right?
There is no
a million years ago.
Under arrest, or
I think so.
Oh yeah, maybe back
during
Obama.
Early in the process, but I will note one more time, a magistrate judge would have had to sign off on such a warrant for FBI.
All right, leave the quad split up, kill the audio.
And they would have had to prove.
So Bolton is a seasoned Washington hand. He's an attorney, practicing attorney. He's been in the national security establishment for a long time. As we were talking about before we came on the air, he had an exploratory committee to run for president in 2016, right? It was 2016, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he set up the committee in 15, but it was
but for the 16th cycle. And I'll just be straightforward here. He toggles, in my experience, between being like a rational, reasonable, normal member of the Gang of 500 in the establishment, and then he can be a bit of an odd duck. He wrote a book about his time in Bush 1 that President Trump did not like, and questions were raised about whether he inappropriately disclosed classified information in the book. And obviously, again, I'll try to be straight down the middle here. This will be seen as another example of the lawfare retaliation. President Trump ordering the Justice Department to go after his enemies, as my mythical fifth grader might say, in a long line of people who have been investigated, where investigations have been opened. I keep saying proof will be in the pudding. If Ms. Cook improperly had 2 mortgages, or maybe 3, now it's being alleged, truth will out, and hopefully justice will be done. I don't know if John Bolton did anything, but I know, as one Trump person said to me this morning by text, not a great morning for John Bolton, no matter what, potentially. But he is a cool customer. I don't think he's going to freak out here, but he's very active on cable and on social media, so we'll get a reaction from him. Dan, your initial thoughts about this Bolton development?
Well, if it is about classified papers that he took, obviously there's great irony in this. If you're a Trump supporter, that this is happening, but I'll just say it goes to the Cook allegation and others. Democrats paid a huge price for lawfare under Joe Biden. And I would imagine that Donald Trump, if this continues, will pay a price, not with his base, because just like our base loved what the Biden people were doing. And I know some of it wasn't the Biden Department of Justice. It was out of New York, but all with, I think, the same goal. The voters that decide elections don't love this stuff.
Kash Patel had a provocative tweet this morning about justice being done. And Dan, I take your point, but before Larry jumps in, let's say Bolton, again, I'm not saying this happened, but let's say Bolton did something wrong. I don't know that I think voters maybe didn't like lawfare against Donald Trump because those cases, in all but one case maybe, were so flimsy.
Well, Mark, I would disagree. I mean, there's no doubt that Donald Trump wouldn't return the papers.
Well, that's the one.
I think what was going on in Georgia was also pretty legit. But I mean, look, it is what it is. It's now, history. But I think, as was often the case with Trump, you had to ask yourself, if he were not running for president again, would those cases have likely happened, right? In this case, you have to ask yourself, if they were not such vocal critics of Donald Trump, or in the case of Cook, not doing what he wants, would they have received this treatment? And that's, a question for the public to decide. We'll look for the facts.
Well, no, we can tell the public no. The answer is no, they wouldn't have been brought. Sure. Larry's here. Larry yesterday seemed to favor Republican lawfare and oppose Democratic lawfare. Larry, John Bolton, what are your thoughts on baseball?
Well, I would reject the premise that I oppose one lawfare and not the other. I believe I used the word justice, and Kash Patel's tweet, I think, says it all. No one is above the law. And that was a lesson hard learned over the last several years under President Biden and the various district attorneys in Atlanta and in New York and in the state of New York as well, the Attorney General. In fact, coming on the heels of the egregious penalty levied against President Trump unfairly by that very odd judge in New York, thrown down by the appeals court yesterday, I think that you're right. There's some irony here. I suspect, though, that our irony focus is a little different, you and I, because unlike Donald Trump, with whatever documents he had from his time as president, John Bolton was not president. And there are different rules. And there are different protocols with regard to having documents from your time working in service for an administration if you're the president of the United States versus a, 3-month-long stint as the national security advisor. So if he had classified documents, he should be punished. And here's the other problem. You know who else was never president but had possession of classified documents? Joe Biden. And we know what happened with that investigation.
He was president. What do you mean he was never president?
No, he had those documents
before he was president. I see what you're saying.
He acquired documents when he was a senator.
All right, let's reset the whole thing here. We'll keep up the quad split. We'll look, see if anybody worth listening to pops up. I will say this summer, more than at any point I can remember, and maybe it's just my old age and I'm forgetting, there's just all these stories that for a day or two or three are the biggest story in the world, and then they disappear. We're going to talk about the Maryland man. I say that in air quotes in a moment. He's in the news today. For weeks, that was like every day was leading the news, and now no one seems to care. Russia this morning, there's some developments in the Russia story, Ukraine story, and yet the network cable news shows at 6 a.m. None of them led with it, and I never even heard them mention it. So it's a weird news moment. Anyway, let's run through the day book.
Can I do one other item real fast on this?
Yeah.
Let's not forget, there was actually a Justice Department investigation under Bill Barr in 2020 over John Bolton possessing classified documents. When Biden became president, that case was dropped. So they're just picking up this investigation from there.
So you think maybe they got him on something else. Who knows? But they could be. All right, I'll run through the day book. We'll kick things around. We'll do winners and losers. Lots of interesting stories to discuss. Then we'll take your questions. If you're here on the two-way platform, want to be in on a conversation, please raise your hand. If you're watching on X, YouTube, don't raise your hand. Don't put smack in the chat. Peace, love, and understanding, yada, 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 presumption of grace to all, so on and so forth. Very glad to have you here. Make a couple of announcements before I do the day book. First of all, brace yourselves, everyone. This is the last episode of this show for till the Tuesday after Labor Day. And same true for the two-way tonight. We're going on a little hiatus because Dan is getting some work done. Dan, is it bad that I told people that? Dan's getting some work done.
I'll have a new face. No,
Dan's getting some work done, and it's a lot like what's that actress's name? I can't remember her name. I'll think of it.
Knew everything. Yeah.
Dan doesn't need the work, but his agent says, you got to look to the future, Dan. It may not need it now. So we're all going to take a week off, and we'll be back the Tuesday after Labor Day, so a week from Tuesday. And again, I'm expecting hundreds of emails saying it's 9 o'clock. Where's the show? Listen to me now. Hear me later. There's no shows next week. Two Way Tonight is on this evening, 4 o'clock special time for the live show, and then we'll spool out on YouTube at 6. But no shows next week. No morning meeting. Even though, of course, as Larry well knows, the morning meeting's momentum now is extraordinary as we are a podcast. And let's go ahead and show the folks, Paul, where we are. Number 12 now. We've been higher. And again, just crushing for Dan to be once again behind Candace Owen. And for Larry, just the Tim Miller. Now, I got an email yesterday saying someone said, this is so against peace, love, and understanding. You denigrating the people ahead of you in the podcast listings. Joke, fellas, joke, ladies. This is not serious, but this is serious. Please subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube right now.
I'm serious about the bulwark.
Yeah. I know. And to be honest, Dan's serious about Candace Owen, but I have to pretend not to diffuse the accusation.
My ex-wife is a big fan of Candace Owens. I'll just let that statement stand.
Okay. So again, we've fallen well behind Ben Shapiro, well behind Charlie Kirk, well behind Tim Miller, well behind Candace Owen. I try not to blame you, the two-way community, for anything, but I blame you for this. So get to it, please. If you haven't done it, please subscribe. All right.
By the way, Mark, don't look at the chat. It's melting down over us not being on.
Really? People are unhappy we're not on next week?
They're very unhappy. Very unhappy.
Look, we're like a jinx. Since we've been on, Trump has not gotten Putin to the negotiating table. Let's assume we're like the Sports Illustrated cover jinx. And we dip out and piece it. Take down everything. You watch TV for us, and if something good comes up, you'll pop it up. But go ahead and put us back regular. All right. A quick word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. We're so happy to have them as a sponsor because they help, as they say in the TV business, pay the bills. They say that in radio too, and podcasting. But they're also produce incredible products. All the Cozy Earth products made from viscose from bamboo, naturally wicking away heat and moisture. I'm wearing the pants right now. You can't see it, but trust me, I am. They're cool. They're comfortable. They're great when it's warm. They're also great when it's cool. And I'm going to wear them to the beach later, and then I'm going to wear them to a cocktail party. They're so nice looking. They're the nice. My dad taught me don't do any double superlatives, but this demands it. They're the nicest, most comfortable pants you'll ever own. And there's some new models. There's the bamboo joggers. There's the everywhere pant. Go buy them all. If you buy their sleep stuff, that's good too. I've been sleeping on that during this hot summer. Very comfortable, and 10-year warranty or 100-day money-back guarantee. Pick your poison. Upgrade your summer sleep. Head right now to CozyEarth.com. Use the code MORNING40 for 40% off. 40% off best-selling sheets, pajamas, and more. Please go to CozyEarth.com right now. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, stay cozy. All right, the day book. The president.
By the way, are you like RFK? Do you wear your pants like to the gym, to the beach, and then to the same pair?
I wear the pair I'm wearing now everywhere but the gym. I'm not like RFK. I can't work out in long pants. I do the step mill, and I could not do this in these pants. Plus, I don't want to get them any sweaty.
Yeah,
I don't want to test the wicking beyond the reasonable
normal
of physics. All right, today the Spectator is the new media pool, and the president is making an announcement at noon in the Oval Office. I don't know anybody who knows what that is, so that'll be exciting to see what he says at noon. And of course, if he takes questions, there'll be at least one on John Bolton and the president. Does he have a nickname for John Bolton? Does anybody remember? Does he call him the Walrus? What does he call him?
It had something to do with his penchant for war. I can't
remember.
Warmonger. Something like that.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. I think it's possible the president will play dumb and act like he doesn't know anything about this thing. We'll see.
Does Gavin Newsom get in on this?
Oh, he gets in on everything now. Vice President, don't know what he's up to after his trip to Georgia yesterday. House and Senate back September 2nd, which is, I believe, the day this program will return. Texas legislature didn't finish up their thing yesterday, so California actually beat them to the punch. Texas Senate will meet to consider the redistricting bill at 11 Eastern, and then Greg Abbott will sign it. I read this yesterday, guys, and I saw it in one place. It said that the California language changed to not be predicated on Texas anymore. Do you guys see that?
No, I had not. That's
No,
interesting.
my understanding is that it's pretty explicit.
It
may not name
it
Texas,
was,
but
it
may
no,
name other
no, no,
states.
no,
No, the original was,
the original one. The original one said other Texas, but I think, but I read in a reputable place, it said at the last minute they struck any contingency. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Mr. Pulte, who oversees Freddie and Fannie and is also a one-man vigilante band calling out wrongdoing by people like Adam Schiff and the Attorney General of New York, and now Ms. Cook, tweeted this morning, "I will be making a statement on new evidence in the Cook matter today at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time." That's in about 15 minutes. So we'll be watching to see if he does that or if he bows to the Bolton news and holds off. And Jerome Powell, right after we go off the air, 10 Eastern. What time is it in Wyoming at 10 Eastern? 8 a.m.?
Yeah, Mountain time.
Mountain time. 8 a.m. Mountain time. Jerome Powell delivers the much expected, long awaited, always closely watched annual address to the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City's Economic Policy Symposium. Full coverage of that speech and much more on two-way tonight this afternoon. RNC gathers for their summer meeting at 10:15 in Atlanta, Georgia, where they're going to pick Mr. Whatley as their next party chair. Ruben Gallego, a much touted and highly overrated presidential candidate, might not be overrated, too soon to say. Senator from Arizona is speaking at Politics and Eggs. Either of you guys ever been to the Politics and Eggs breakfast?
No,
not up in New Hampshire. No.
Yeah. Okay. I've been there many times, and I've been honored to be the speaker twice. It's a great event. It's sponsored by the New England Council and the New Hampshire Institute of Politics, two great organizations. It's usually at the sometimes it's at St. Anselm, but
St. Anselm, yeah.
But it's usually at the what's that hotel called? Bedford Village Inn, one of the great New England hotels. And every guest gets a little wooden egg that says Politics and Eggs on it. It's an egg size, and then the host signs them. Not the host, the guest speaker signs them. And I've got some great ones signed by people, but truly one of the 15 highlights of my, not say career, my whole life, being asked to sign those eggs. They're a little tricky to sign because they're egg shaped.
Yeah.
Anyway, lastly, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who Larry calls a gang member and Dan calls a Maryland man. He's being released today, we believe, from a Tennessee jail. And he's got private security that's going to bring him back to John Bolton's state of residency, Maryland. But then the Associated Press says the minute he gets to Maryland, he might be arrested by immigration officials and deported. So we'll see what happens. But again, another story that, like, once upon a time, if I told you the Maryland man was being released and brought back to Maryland, you tell me, well, there's going to be a lot of coverage of that thing.
Especially in late August with Congress adjourned.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The story.
and he's coming to the DC area where there's lots of bureaus and crews. Larry, I mean, are you going to be waiting for him on the border and give him a crab cake or something?
I am, in fact, a Maryland man. Maybe I'll have an honorary can of Old Bay for him.
Yeah, some seasoning.
The reason why these stories, you do know why these stories are huge and then they go away, is because the huge story is meant to be, oh, this is it. We finally got Trump and his horrible policies, and this is awful, just like this story in particular. Then when the facts come up and catch up with the headlines, it turns out, oh, actually, Trump's in the right. This isn't that big of a deal. So that's why the story dies.
Well, that's funny because on the left, they'd say Trump put stories out with no facts. Yeah. And then they just disappear. And then we all learn that, like, oh, wait, there actually really isn't anything there.
I think that's part of it. But I'll give you three more explanations. Number one, a lot of these stories that got a lot of attention aren't really worthy of it. Two is we've had a lot of big stories. Like, there's been a summer of big stories. And three, I've said this before, John King, Associated Press reporter circa 1992, when we were covering the Clinton campaign, and he had incredible influence over the networks and what they covered, because there was nothing else to look at in New York for the news executives but John King's copy or Ron Fournier's copy about what was going on. And John would always say to me when I would say, well, why isn't that the story? He'd say, because the first three letters of news are NEW. There's a bias in the news business towards new stuff. And this Bolton thing is new, and it's got video. All right, let's talk about Ukraine. Reuters, some fresh reporting. Peggy Noonan's column today says basically Trump may not succeed, but he's trying. And that's been my point of view as well. Like, this may not work, but it's different than what the Biden administration was doing, and it could work. But the Journal itself is very negative. Paul Gigo's editorial is very negative. The news story in the Journal basically says a reconstruction of how did this thing fall apart in 4 days. But here is there's the Journal headline: how Trump's Ukraine. Sorry, it's blocked here on my screen. How Trump's Ukraine peace push stalled out in 4 days. Recent optimism has faded, and Trump is looking for new answers. Again, yesterday, the president on social media saying a sports metaphor that, in effect, maybe Zelensky should strike in Moscow or in Russia with advanced weapons. Reuters this morning has exclusive reporting, not getting very much attention. 117. Reuters says this: exclusive Putin's demands to Ukraine: give up Donbass, no NATO, and no Western troops. And the lead says this: Vladimir Putin is demanding that Ukraine give up all of its eastern Donbass region, renounce ambitions to join NATO, remain neutral, and keep Western troops out of the country. Three sources familiar with top-level Kremlin thinking told Reuters. If that reporting is accurate, and Reuters is pretty good on this stuff, it's way ahead of what anybody else has reported, because all we've had are public comments from the Russians saying, we reject everything. Dan, with the exception of no Western troops on the ground in Ukraine, that could be part of a deal. There's nothing else I see on there that's ruled out by the Zelensky side, or am I wrong?
Yeah, that story says that this is what the Russians told Trump in Alaska. And you're right, because there's an olive branch in there. The story says, and I can't remember the specific names, that two regions, Russia's willing to give some land back to the Ukrainians, but they want the remaining 15-20% of the Donbass region that they do not have. So there's a little bit of a trade there of like, we'll give you some of what we have, but we want some of what we don't. But obviously, the big deal breaker in there is no Western troops, no one from any NATO countries, not the United States. And of course, if you're a cynical person with Vladimir Putin, your first thought is then he would just take the rest of Ukraine at some point. And he also says Ukraine cannot have any military, which is another bonkers statement. Like, you can't defend yourself. No one with any strength can defend you. Otherwise, it's a peace agreement.
Yeah, Larry, this is what Newt Gingrich, who's an advisor to President Trump on these kinds of issues, but more hawkish than the president's policies towards Ukraine. Here's what Newt tweeted: Russia's deliberate attack on an American-related company in the far west of Ukraine is an example of an arrogance and contempt with which Putin is operating. He has, in fact, just showed the world that anything he said in Alaska is baloney, or someone say Bologna. He is determined to conquer Ukraine and sees no serious effort stopping him. His foreign minister, Lavrov, has been making it very clear that Putin's idea of a deal is a conquest of all Ukraine. We will have to get much tougher to convince the Russians they can't win. Larry, we've been saying here, he'll probably will get tougher, but not right away. What do you make of Gingrich's advice, and will the president jump on that?
I don't know if he'll jump on it, but he is a trusted advisor to the president on a lot of issues. And I think that's going to resonate, especially as you mentioned his somewhat cryptic and curious post on Truth Social yesterday about maybe Ukraine needs to go on the offensive. You never win a game if you're always on defense, I think, is sort of to paraphrase the president. Yeah. And there is some suggestion there that you got to start punching back. And also yesterday, didn't Zelensky announce that they've got a brand new missile system? They're calling it the Flamingo missile, which is hardly striking fear.
Well, he said, by the end of the year, they think that their new missile system will be ready.
Yeah. So maybe part of the rhetoric and saber rattling here is an indication that Trump, if Putin doesn't give up on some of these things, especially the Western, Putin can't dictate what a sovereign nation can do with regard to protecting their own borders. Then maybe Trump is indicating here in his own way that, it's time to go on the offensive.
Mark, do you think that Reuters story was leaked by the U.S. to say to everyone who's starting to chirp, hey, we're a little closer than people think? Like, Putin was willing to give some... No. So you think the Russians leaked it?
They didn't leak it. I think they put it out there. Reuters has good Moscow sources.
Okay.
Larry, and I think the sources are identified as people close to
Russia.
Well, I mean, it's...
Larry, just to clarify, do you prefer the Rod Stewart or Manfred Mann version of Pretty Flamingo?
Oh, Manfred Mann, absolutely.
Yeah, the vocals on both, though, are memorable.
Problem with Rod Stewart is at some point all the songs start to sound the same because of his vocal quality.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they're still good.
Thank you for the clarification. All right. The Fed, I don't think we need to say much about it because I want to see what happens with Pulte in 5 minutes, assuming he goes forward. But Dan, what do you expect to preview the chairman in 30 minutes? What do you expect from the chairman?
I think, look, the Fed has there's two mandates and there's two issues in front of them, which is the threat that inflation may be kind of starting to resume a little bit. And at the same time, the economy may be slowing and worrying about job losses. And so the issue when you have something called stagflation, which is both of those happening simultaneously, is there's going to be pressure for him to pick a side. And Trump wants lower interest rates for employment and to juice the economy. The problem is, even in normal times, that tends to produce inflation, a hot economy, which is why the Fed historically raises interest rates when the economy gets going, too hot, they call it. So I'll be curious if he says we're still weighing both, or if he starts to say this is one of those two is going to be our bigger focus.
Larry?
Yeah, the biggest problem is that so much of Trump's initiative here is bringing investment for manufacturing into the United States, and those companies would like to have some pretty good interest rates when they're financing their equipment and their building and their real estate, and the interest rates are hurting, and it's hurting everyday Americans as well. The refinance industry has just cratered for years, and Powell's vulnerable because of the moves he made right before the election. It's inexplicable that he made moves right before Election Day that would have helped Kamala Harris, although it didn't really work, and now he's not budging. He looks like a highly political player here.
Oh, I think the complete opposite. He does not. I mean,
then how do you explain
that's why he lowered interest rates is absurd. I mean, it's just utterly absurd.
It was just coincidence of timing.
So Larry, let me ask you this. If he slashes interest rates and all this money pours in, so last month it went up almost 1%, 0.9% month over month. So you would be looking at an annualized...
The consumer price index didn't go up.
So if you're looking then at an annualized basis, that'd be 12% inflation if that were to continue.
We usually talk in terms of the month to month, year to year. But
before you juice the economy. So it cost us the election, I would argue, that inflation for 1 year in the middle of Joe Biden's term skyrocketed. Then it came back down the last year and a half, but no one cared. They were just like, that was so painful. We hate you. That's the irony of what Trump's doing.
All right. Hold on one sec, because we got a lot to get to here, and there are a lot of hands up, and I want to get to a lot of folks. So CNN is reporting what Larry said, which is that this is a reopening of the Bolton investigation into the unauthorized disclosure of classified information in his book. So we'll see if that's right. I'm going to run through some stories, guys, just as news items. We won't talk about them, just so we can get through a bunch of stuff. And then we'll talk about one more thing. Then we'll do winners and losers and what to look for. And then we'll get to everybody's questions. Redistricting, again, mentioned Texas is acting today. California acted yesterday. New poll from the LA Times, 116, sampling California public opinion. You support this or not? Now, they asked, love it or hate it, poll shows how Californians feel about Newsom's redistricting fight with Trump. Not my favorite type of headline on a poll story, but whatever. Here's the poll. They surveyed a subgroup of people more likely to vote than not. And this is just the general population of registered voters, not super likely voters with a history of voting. Do you support this or not to counter Texas? 46%, yes, a good idea. 36%, bad idea. You'd say, well, good is ahead. But let me tell you some things. In California, generally, in these propositions, no is favored, particularly on a process question. That's just the history. And you generally want to be starting above 50. That's the history. If you don't start above 50, you don't usually win, because the no side spends a lot of money and ratchets it up. So you cannot look at this poll, even though good idea is ahead. You cannot look at this and say Newsom's in great shape. Now, we debated last night on Two-Way Tonight. We've talked about this. Is this a winner for Newsom no matter what? You can take that down. Is this a winner for Newsom no matter what? Yes is slightly ahead, again, though under 50. Yeah. He's already raising money and collecting names. He's showing he's fighting Donald Trump. But if he loses, it could be really bad for him symbolically. Larry, also, real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Oftentimes, the California state ballot measures hinge on what the final approved language is. The language of that question was very specific. Yeah. Retaliating Texas was named in it, that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know if the final ballot measure is going to say that, and that'll affect.
Good point.
That's a great point.
Epstein documents going today, the first tranche of documents about Epstein from the Justice Department to the House Committee. The House Committee says they're going to take some time to redact. So who knows when that will come out, but we'll be watching that. Maybe some will come out today. We'll talk about it on two-way tonight. Lots going on in the New York mayor's race. There's a video we were going to show you, but we won't spend the time doing it. Mamdani continues to produce quality online content. The Wall Street Journal and others continue to wring their hands that no one's emerging to oppose Mamdani, even though, again, every bit of data will tell you there's only one person who can beat Mamdani potentially, and it's still a long shot, which is Andrew Cuomo. They're still talking about Adams and Sliwa. I don't know why anyone who wants to be Mamdani continues to talk about Adams and Sliwa. It's a complete waste of time. And now Adams, top aide, was indicted, and the New York Times has an incredible story about some of his aides handing out those Chinese cultural yellow, red envelopes with cash. It's like a Chinese.
And by the way, it's the second set of corruption allegations against the same top aide. He now has two layers.
Yeah. So Adams is even more ridiculous. And again, every poll you see, Adams cannot win. Literally, if Sliwa and Cuomo got out, Adams would not win a head-to-head, and he certainly can't win a three-way. Cuomo can win a three-way if Adams is either out or down. But for some reason, Paul Gigot, who's a very smart man, can't figure that
Mark,
out.
I want to just flag between now and when we come back on air, watch the Black community talking to Adams and see if Sliwa gets nominated for something by the Trump administration.
Yeah, and again, the other thing we haven't seen is there's all these big money groups who want to beat him. They haven't geared up yet. They haven't showed their hand. They haven't demoed some negative ads to see how effective they could be. So we'll see. But the piece in New York Magazine by a guy, pro Mamdani, who makes the case for why it's all but over unless something unexpected happens. And then the guy discloses in the piece that Mamdani was his campaign manager when he ran for office. Yeah. I didn't know Mamdani had worked as a campaign manager. That was interesting. All right, last story, guys, real quick. Iowa Iowans are trying to get, Iowa Democrats are trying to get their caucuses back to the front of the line. In 2020, or 2024 rather, we had the calendar we did in part because Joe Biden has never done well in Iowa and New Hampshire and wanted South Carolina and Jim Clyburn to be first. We had the calendar we did because the Democratic Party was so woke. They said, forget the valuable role that Iowans and New Hampshireites play. Granted, staters play in our process. We're going to eliminate their influence because Iowa and New Hampshire are too white. And also because Iowa had screwed up their caucuses in 20, and so they lost any claim to knowing how to do it. So now it's not clear who has influence, right? There's no Hillary Clinton, there's no Joe Biden, there's no incumbent, there's no front runner who's spending the time working the DNC. So Dan, where will the DNC come down just on like in a fair assessment with all these cross-cutting currents about who should be first?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think breaking up Iowa and New Hampshire has to do with breaking up the industrial complex of those states, and just they're so dependent, both their political parties there and the state business, on all the money that comes in. I actually think it's a great thing. I don't know, and it's
you think it's a great thing to take away their first in the nation status?
Yeah, because I mean, look, the Iowa Democratic Party, every candidate pays $25,000 for their voter rolls. Everyone buys stuff at their annual events. The hotels are full because all the operatives come in. They're buying, airtime on all the local.
You're emphasizing all the negatives.
Yeah.
They also are they take it seriously. They go to town halls.
That is such a joke.
It is not, Dan. They ask serious questions. They put them through their paces. I'm not advocating.
Mark, would any other state be able to do the same thing if given the opportunities?
No, absolutely not. Maybe with 30 years to get the culture there.
Of course,
I agree with Mark.
But Dan, we don't have 30 years.
Mark's
we don't have 30 years. Dan, I'm telling you are. I've literally in the history of this program, I've never heard you be so wrong about something. And again, I'm not advocating for them or defending them, but I'm telling you the value of them asking serious questions on policy and taking their measure in a sustained way. People go to 5 events to see the same candidate. No state, including, by the way, South Carolina, state will do it, but Iowa.
Mark, if everybody can't, well, I look, all right, you
There's
and I
another element too.
Disagree on this.
The other thing about Iowa and New Hampshire to a lesser degree is if you haven't raised a ton of money, you can still
correct because you can talk to the voters. Dan, right. Dan, I don't want you to stop. Explain why you're devaluing the public service that the citizens of 2 states have agreed to do. They're too white. It's unfair. I get all of that. I'm just saying you cannot make this calculation because if it's Michigan, it's to go to Larry's point. It's all TV ads. It's phony town halls. You do 2 of them and say you've done town halls.
I mean, look, there's 2 things. One is That's how normal presidential campaigns are. So great that you can go to Iowa and New Hampshire, whose track record of picking nominees and presidents is horrific in the last 40 years. So start with that.
No, it's not true.
No. Secondly, Mondani showed that you don't have to go out there and be the highest spending candidate. There are plenty. John McCain lived off the land in New Hampshire.
It's not a presidential race.
But Mark, those states feel that it is their entitlement.
I understand.
And sit on their.
Dan, I'm conceding every downside you're raising. But
if another state was given the opportunity where 20 candidates came and camped out, okay, who pioneered the strategy in Iowa that gave them that? It was
James Earl Carter.
It was Jimmy Carter, who went and spent month after month in those towns. Now, if Jimmy Carter went to Nevada and spent 7 months going around to Silver City and Carson and everywhere,
no one would show up, Dan. No one would show up.
I mean, look, we're just going to disagree. I feel incredibly strongly on that.
Just to be clear, my staunch advocacy and my passion here is based on wanting to be what I believe would be the first person invited to speak at Politics and Eggs 3 times. That's what I'm going for here. My friends in New Hampshire, all watching, want you to know how strongly I feel.
You should do a morning meeting live from
I think Steve Forbes might have done 3, but it's like being in the 5 Climbers Club on Saturday Night Live. Like, not many people have done 3. So
okay, can we just go back to this though for 1 second? If not the Iowa, New Hampshire thing. If it really matters who goes first, because if it's, let's say, Michigan, or let's say it's Nevada, well, candidates like Josh Shapiro that have been quiet here, that are, have a history of being bipartisan, of getting stuff done. It's a very different electorate. Let's say if Nevada goes first with its Latinos and,
yes, it is a different electorate.
Who goes
and I'm
first
for that. It's totally huge. But Dan, I'm just telling you, have you been to town halls in Iowa and New Hampshire versus town halls in South Carolina and Las Vegas? Have you been to them?
I have not been to a town hall in Nevada.
Okay. Do you know how different they are? Do you know how fundamentally different they are?
They are. And I think it's disgusting that they think they're so entitled.
I do
come
too.
to my front porch.
I do too, Dan.
That somebody thinks in Dover, New Hampshire. I want you to come for the 5th time and tell me why I should vote for you. Because nobody wins a presidential election.
Once again, I'm agreeing with you about the negatives, but you must not be blind to the upside.
Is that how a national campaign is run?
It's the best we have, Dan.
It has nothing to do with your ability to win North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Ohio.
Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Dan.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Dan, how many presidents have won neither Iowa nor New Hampshire? And Bill Clinton doesn't count because there were exceptions in both states. Well, how many of our presidents won neither?
Joe Biden didn't either.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, Barack Obama won Iowa, then loses New Hampshire. So
and then South Carolina. I'm all for South Carolina
same,
too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the modern history of it.
All right. One more. Can I just add one quick point?
Real quick.
It's pronounced Nevada.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I never say it, because I can never say it correctly. I say the Silver State or the state where Las Vegas is. All right, Kamala Harris is later today. There'll be full details on the events for her book tour. Yesterday, they put out the cities. Today, the specifics. We do have specifics for one. This is the Miami event. Larry, what do you think the ticket range is? What's the low ticket, high ticket?
200 low end, and you can get up to 1,000 at the high end.
I thought it'd be more like that, and maybe other cities were. Miami, $72 gets you in the door. 472 is the top ticket in Miami. Maybe it'll be higher in other places, but maybe we'll pool our money and draw lots, and one of us will go. All right, one last thing, and then your question.
The loser has to go.
So far, I'm told we have no new people raising their hands, so maybe we'll do a golden oldie day and get our regular vets in, and we're going to ask you to be quick. We're going to do like rapid rounds, try to get everybody in today, since it is the last show until September 2nd. Dan, winner of the week.
Winner of the week. I'm talking to him. It is our own Mark Halperin, who was telling me back in January and February, Gavin Newsom is a much better political athlete than I thought. He also, in his second next up, interviewed Gavin and shed a lot of insight. Gavin Newsom's had the best summer of anybody. He may not be the nominee. He may flame out, but hat tip to Mark Halperin for being first, telling everyone, don't underestimate Gavin.
I want to thank the Academy. I want to thank my friends at Creative Artists. I want to thank Larry, most of all, who's been with me. Kids, you can go to sleep now. Larry, winner of the week.
You don't seem a CAA type, but sure.
I used to be represented by CAA. Oh, yeah.
Winsome Earl Sears is surging in Virginia.
Larry.
In May, she was 17 points down. Poll came out this week. She's only 7 points down, which is actually better than Youngkin was at this time against Terry McAuliffe. And she had a big night last night at a school board meeting, laying out the gender policies of that school board. And Abigail Spanberger is trying to play rope-a-dope in a basement like Biden. She's surging.
Larry. Dan, truly thank you for your kind words. And thanks to everyone who's told me I don't understand Gavin Newsom. He's the worst governor in the history of the country. You people in Red America, there's no Democrat who you would say would be a strong candidate. And I'm not saying Newsom's going to win the general. I'm saying he's alone in the top tier for the nomination. And the irrational way you're acting to what I'm saying makes me question our whole relationship. I am not telling you that Gavin Newsom is the best candidate of all time. I'm not saying he's a successful governor. All else I'm telling you is right now he's the most likely nominee. And of course, I'm also telling you I don't think he's going to run. Dan, I have to do my winner.
He's no Winsome Sears.
Yeah. My winner are California political consultants who are going to make a fortune off of a $300 million waste of money. Dan, loser of the week.
My loser of the week is the brilliant people on Madison Avenue, those who do rebranding. Man, they had some gigantic oofs this week between MS Now and Cracker Barrel. Not a good week for rebranding.
Good call. That's a good one. Larry.
I can't believe you stole mine. That was mine as well. Rebranding from MS Now to Cracker Barrel. The only way to salvage Cracker Barrel is to bring back the old logo, but replace the old dude with Sydney Sweeney and Daisy Dukes. Then you got
loser of the week is those who said that Donald Trump and JD Vance were destroying the relationship between the United States and Europe. We saw on vivid display on Monday a close relationship. We saw the furtherance of the trade deal. And whatever happens with Putin, I think we see a united Europe and United States. It's not perfect. And behind their back, they snicker at the president of the United States, but they are united in their goals and in most of their methods. And that is a far, far distance from what the critics said was going to happen between the United States and Europe during Trump 2.0. Dan, what are you watching for this weekend?
I am watching for the administration on the Sunday shows about Russia. Do they try to turn the heat up more, or do they try to kind of calm it down to buy more time?
Who's on? I think Vance is on some show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll.
Who's on the Sunday shows? Somebody look that up and tell us.
Politico has it.
Yeah. Okay. Larry, what are you watching for this weekend?
On a personal level, and this is for Dan's enjoyment, I'm looking to see how well I do at the Quantico 12K race tomorrow morning down at the Marine base. I've run many half marathons, but I'm training for the Marine Corps Marathon at the end of October. It's my first time doing it, and so far so good. But I'll let you know how I do on my 12K.
All right, Larry, that's awesome. I'm all about Russia. I know I was joking before and also being serious about all the changes in the news, but this is to me this is historic. It's epic. It's vital for the planet. And so every minute what is Donald Trump going to do now that Putin has given him the back of the hand on this stuff? So that's what I'm looking for. All right, your questions and pay attention, everyone. A little bit different. I'm gonna call on people in the order you raised your hand. So Haley will be first.
Oh,
Professor Kenny, you weren't first today. What happened? Sleep at the switch. But I want to say question for X, and then I want a short declarative 1 sentence question. And if you go over, I exercise the power of the mute button. And Haley, who's extraordinarily good at following directions, is going to set the tone. So I unmute. You don't say where you are. You don't say your name. You just say, Dan, do you like peas? And Dan says, Haley, I love peas. And I say, thank you, Haley. Professor Kenny. That's how we're going here today, folks. Trying this out. And again,
is this because Sean's not here?
Exactly. I have the quickest mute finger you ever saw. So and I'm gonna get emails. People say, "Oh, you're so mean to Haley because she asked a 2-part question." No, because Haley won't do that. And again, interrupt me if Pulte brings forward his information. Here we go. I'm not even gonna bring people in. Haley, go.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Dan,
Yes.
His regards to the conversation yesterday. with
Oh,
Gavin
Haley.
Newsom.
Haley, such a bad example. Disregards the conversation.
Oh,
Haley's out. Professor Kenny, set the
oh
tone.
my
Set the
God.
tone.
Man,
Larry,
ruthless.
We love Haley.
Larry,
We love
Will,
Haley, but Haley says, Dan, in regards to, that is not what we're going for here. Professor Kenny, go.
I liked it.
Larry, will Donald Trump come to his senses and send bunker busters up Putin's you know what?
Thank you, Professor Kenny. Brilliantly done.
I doubt it, considering he's also sitting on the largest nuclear arsenal on the planet.
Good. And Larry, right in the spirit of what we're doing, short answer. Haley, after 3 more people go, you're going to get another chance. Listen and learn. Bob, Bob, welcome in. Go.
Good morning. Question for Larry. Are you concerned at all about some of the profanity that's crept into the political discourse these days? Like calling Trump, F Donald Trump in front of a crowd of supporters. I'm concerned about this kind of thing. What do you think?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
listen, I mean,
Hold on.
you're lecturing Mark Halperin from yesterday's
exactly.
lamentable display.
Although, Larry, you did too. Larry, before you answer, Bob, no need to say good morning and no need to say question for Larry. Just say Larry, comma, because we'll know that's a question for Larry. Decent job, way better than Haley. Larry.
Yeah, I mean, there is a course.
We love you,
but I think that it's our broader culture, not just in politics. But sure, I would rather have a Reagan type figure who is able to be aggressive and yet at the same time show some decorum.
Drew.
Dan, assuming Newsom and Vance are competing for the presidential ticket, how many swing states would Newsom win?
Drew, genius. And Haley, I hope you paid attention. No niceties from Drew, nothing. And Haley, if we didn't love you, we wouldn't kid. Dan.
Impossible to predict at this time. But given we're a 50-50 country, he'd be right there probably in 6 of them.
It's a non-answer.
Doug. Non-answer. Drew, you're
I mean,
right.
we don't know what's going to matter.
Drew, the answer is all of them. Doug.
No.
If inflation's 20%, he's in
Wrong.
it.
Doug.
Don't California my North Carolina. Don't California my Ohio. Insert the name of the state and he wins.
Doug.
Unless Trump's at 30%.
So let me on.
Doug.
I think everyone is thinking the U.S. is looking more and more like a banana republic by this constant targeting.
No, Doug, I don't even understand what you're saying. Haley.
Damn.
Mark had Wheaties.
I actually like this.
Yeah,
Haley.
yeah.
Okay, I think I got it. Dan, can the Democratic base elect Gavin Newsom along with the general electing Gavin Newsom? Can that equation come together and happen?
100%.
Good. Matt. Matt knows. I know Matt. Matt knows how to follow directions. This will be a template for everyone. Matt.
All right, Dan and Larry, is it constitutional to not count non-citizens in the census?
Brilliant. Larry.
Hasn't been determined yet. Actually.
Dan.
I agree with Larry.
Rebecca.
Dan, do you think Mandani, or however you say his name, is going to play a role in 2026 and 2028?
1,000%.
Oh yes.
Yes.
On both sides.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yes, he will. And Democrats will rue the day they elevated him if he wins.
Agreed.
Greg, unmute.
Larry, what do you see as the underlying reason for the younger generation's lack of support or declining support for Israel?
Larry, thank you, Greg. Perfectly stated. Greg, Larry, take a little more time because that one's not a bumper sticker.
Yeah. And I think, in my opinion, I think much of it goes to do with the state of our education system right now. The teachers' universities that crank out most of the teachers that work in public schools, they've been very politicized. And every demonstration you see on our college campuses right now that seem to be sympathetic and supportive.
I need to stop
of
you.
Hamas.
I'm sorry, Larry, I need to stop you. The president has gotten into the beast and the motorcade is rolling to an unknown destination. Stand by. Maybe he's going over to cheer the FBI on it in Bethesda. Larry.
At Bolton's house, yeah.
I wonder if he's bringing Wise Guy Pizza with him. That would be something. And because every demonstration you're seeing on the college campuses right now that seems sympathetic to Hamas and supportive of terrorists because of the anti-Israel sentiment, that's made its way into the teachers' universities as well, teachers' colleges, and those are the teachers that are teaching our students. So I think, sadly, they come out of this system and come out of the university system with a built-in bias against the state of Israel without a full historical perspective. And it's lamentable, and I hate it. And so homeschool your kids.
Michael and Noah, please watch, see where the president's headed. That's interesting. Kyle, welcome in.
You know, can I real fast? He doesn't. There aren't a lot of places where he goes in the beast in D.C., right? I mean,
not typically. Not
no.
typically.
I like even if he's going to the Pentagon, they fly him over there.
Maybe he's going to injure. Maybe he's going to Bethesda Naval for some sort of medical.
I was going to say maybe he's got a medical.
Fly him for that, wouldn't they?
No, they usually drive. They don't usually fly to Bethesda. Sometimes they do both.
Yeah, they sometimes do because they used to see it.
Kyle, welcome in. Go.
Mark, why are you so dismissive of a tit for tat strategy by Trump to end lawfare when game theory has shown that is the most effective way to end?
Because this is not the America I want to live in or raise my son in. I don't want prosecutors.
Me neither.
Well, but you could say,
well, he should do it
too. I do want to solve it. And the way to solve it is to have a full listen to me, Kyle. You asked the question. Full investigation of the outrages done by the previous administration and the DAs. Full, fair investigation, lay it all out, interview them, expose it for what it was, okay? And then if you find wrongdoing amongst your political enemies, talk about how regrettable it is and lay out the facts and do your arguing not on social media and not at White House press conferences. Do it in court. So if Adam Schiff broke the law, file the papers, do the case the normal way. And if the president deserves retribution, and Kyle, if your game theory is great, I'm not against it, but do it by the book and don't do it in a way that's clearly meant to intimidate people, because this is a disaster for America. I've been covering this my whole career, starting with the Bork hearings. This is not the way the country should be. I'm not against politics. I'm not against partisanship, but weaponizing indictments ruins people's lives, and it will never end. It'll never end. And there's no way to run a country. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment.
When you say it never ends, there's 5 Nobel Prizes that have been awarded for game theory because how effective it is in getting results. Game theory would say,
Kyle, I'm offering you, Kyle, a way to do tit for tat that minimizes the lawfare aspect of it. Don't threaten indictments.
I agree with you. Don't indict someone for something they didn't do.
Well, but they're not even indicted. Some of these people are never going to be indicted. And to go on,
that's fine.
But to go on Truth Social and to have Caroline from the podium and the president in the Oval Office threatening these people and the president saying, "I'm going to go after them." That is not the right way to do it. Get all the game theory retribution, get all the tit for tat, get all the deterrence without the downside of my having to explain to young people why we're weaponizing the Justice Department. It's not necessary to get the exact effect you want to have. Larry,
would you like?
Well, I mean, look, the Democrats would tell you that what they did was in response. Bill Clinton went through for 8 years. You're shaking your head. Maybe you weren't old enough back then to remember. Clinton was accused of killing somebody. That he killed Vince Foster and dumped him in Lafayette Square. I mean, get out of here that Donald Trump was the first person to face conspiracy theory allegations. Like, MAGA's got to grow up that they think it was only Donald Trump. It's ridiculous.
Am I back?
I think Mark might have frozen.
Yeah, I think the whole thing fell apart there. I was going to announce.
Oh, you froze him. Who killed Kenny?
It wasn't. I was asking if you wanted to know what Pulte's breaking news is.
Oh, yeah. I just saw it here. Yeah.
We've obtained a document Lisa Cook submitted to the U.S. government while serving as Federal Reserve Governor. In it, on February 28th, 23, she represents to the U.S. government that the Atlanta property is her personal residence. However, Lisa Cook is then sitting federal governor, and 6 months earlier, on September 1st, appears to have listed the same property for rent. I
mean, look, I think that, this goes to what Mark just said, right? So somehow the evidence is now being put out and not in a court, right? So you're selectively leaking out stuff. I mean, I get it. If this is true, obviously you can't do both. This is what they tried to get Trump on, right? I mean, this is literally the same exact thing. So there's obviously great irony. But again, would they be doing this if Lisa Cook was a cook in a restaurant? I don't think Bill Pulte would be out there putting this out.
Yeah,
he's doing it because they want to get rid of her.
I completely understand your resistance to the fact that this is just being leaked out in the media instead of in a formal court of law. And I love Mark's passion on this issue. Let me just say, Mr. Pulte is putting his name on it. It's not an illegal anonymous leak handed in the dark of night in a garage in D.C. to some.
Trump's very, they're very public about it. Yeah.
How many illegal anonymous false leaks did we have to endure during the first Trump administration about Russian contacts? And so many of them dried up and they were nothing, but they still had their headlines and they still undermined that president. You know, and a lot of people I noticed were saying, you know, why do I take it so personally that the Russian collusion thing happened in the first term? Couple things. First of all, I have friends. Sean Spicer is my friend, and he had to spend a ton of money to lawyer up because of all of those things. People's lives were affected and in many cases ruined, number one. Number two, it did affect me. You know why? Because I voted for Donald Trump to be the president and not be encumbered and inhibited and undermined by anonymous, powerful people who were just trying to stop him from being an effective president. It affects all of us when these things happen.
Do you guys notice I was gone?
Welcome back, Mark.
My power went out. I don't know what happened.
Oh, is that what
happened? Lost internet access.
So it was weird because it knocked me out too, but it didn't knock Dan out. Isn't that
Are you
weird?
serious? Are you serious? Or are you kidding?
Yeah. No, seriously.
We're dealing with the storm here, even though it's sunny. All right, Wickham, go ahead real quick.
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, Wickham. You can hear me. Doesn't count. John, welcome in real quick.
Mark, Kamala is going to the
Wickham. It's part of the shtick. Yeah,
now you're interrupting me, Mark.
Yeah, no, you go.
All right. Kamala's coming to the Ryman, so you have no excuses now. You can sell out the Ryman. Dan, Plattner's launch in May.
Oh, John. You serious? Evan.
What did he do?
He said something to me. There wasn't a question about that we should come to Nashville and do an event. Evan, go.
It's a great format. I hope you adopt it. Why do you provide so much substance to weekly economic reports?
We don't. We just report them. We don't report that much substance. They're cumulative, but they're data. And we do in part because the markets react to them. You know.
By the way, the number one issue in polls is still the economy. That's why.
Yeah. Benjamin.
Dan, since Trump was elected as a populist and Mom Donnie, for better or worse, represents a different form of populism, why or why not would you advise Democrats to begin to embrace him? Or should they instead moderate on some of these proven loser issues?
Oh, Benjamin, that's good enough. Thank you, Dan.
Winning campaigns appeal to both the middle and the base. You can't do just one.
Okay, my performance art was not meant to offend anyone. Thank you for all playing and for raising your hands. I was just trying to have a little fun this morning on our last episode before Dan goes to, where are you going? Betty Ford? Where are you going, Dan? Dan's going off somewhere.
I'm going to rehab, getting my nose done.
Yeah.
By the way, people, I am not having any work done.
You went from plastic surgery to rehab.
Is everything okay?
Fast. It's a twofer. That's why we're off till the 2nd, because Dan has to do 3 days at Betty Ford. And get his skin supple enough that he can go get the rhinoplasty or whatever it is.
Don't you touch that beautiful face.
The Russiagate stuff has driven me to drink. I got to get off.
Emma Stone, perfect face, but had work done because she was planning ahead. Dan, same thing. Larry, here on behalf of accepting the award for Sean Spicer. Larry, what do you have what does Sean have tonight?
By the way, I filled in for Sean on his show last night. It was a great show. Catch it on demand. But Sean is back tonight on his program, and he's got Dr. Peter McCullough, a Maha favorite.
Very nice.
Dan, what's going on with you?
Well, for the 3rd time this week, I am scheduled to be on Sean Hannity, but pending world events, I may or may not be on.
Breaking news changes everything.
That's exactly it. I take no offense.
Pulte's thing that he put out, obtained documents Lisa Cook submitted to the U.S. government while serving as Fed governor. She represented that the U.S. government, that the Atlanta property is her personal reference, but then as a Fed governor, she lists the same property for rent. In other words, he's alleging. Previously, they'd said that the submission of false documents pertaining to mortgages was done before she was a Fed governor. What Pulte's now alleging is this was while she was a Fed governor, not vouching for the validity of it, but that's what he's putting out today as the pressure on her to quit or to be fired or be removed for cause continues. We'll continue to follow that. Ethan Strauss, our talented colleague, is on the show, Random Offense. It's moving. It was on at 4 Eastern. It's now going to be on at 2 Eastern time on Friday. So please check it out. Ethan's guest today, see if I can pronounce this correctly. Amin El Hassan. El Hassan. Well, anyway, they'll be on it too. Ethan is an incredible talent. If you haven't sampled the show, I'd urge you to do it. And then Two-Way Tonight this evening, our last episode before our break, is going to be on the Two-Way platform here at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Our guests include Stephen Klubeck, who's running for governor of California. I ran into him in a restaurant in the West Village a few weeks ago. Fascinating guy. He's been long involved in Democratic politics as a donor, and now he's running for governor of California. Dan, amongst the best swag I've ever seen. Incredible swag. Just carrying around.
All right.
3,000 miles away from California, just carrying around the West Village charger, portable charger and hats. Anyway, so join us for that. And then Lindsay Keith, Sean's old co-host from Newsmax, will join, and maybe one other person. So I'll see you at 4 o'clock, and then we'll stream at 6 o'clock on YouTube and X. So please do that. And again, reminder, we are on hiatus. Last episode of the morning meeting. So if you need more of Larry or Dan or Sean, please find some other outlet. They're all over social media for one thing.
I'm live at noon every day, Monday through Friday.
Larry doesn't take breaks, so you'll be able to see Larry. Go to all his socials and see that. And by the way, Next Up is off next week too. So don't think don't think you're going to get 2 hours from me that way. I'm taking a little bit of time off to refresh and to learn how to cut people off even more quickly. Just kidding. I know some of you like the format, but don't get used to it. Thank you for being part of the Two-Way experience. We're very grateful to you all. Don't begrudge us our break, because when we come back on September 2nd, we will be loaded for bear. Lots of surprises, some new sponsors who you'll enjoy, and the occasional guest appearance of America's sweetheart, Larry O'Connor. Larry, thank you for the 2 days.
Thanks for welcoming me and making me feel a part of the team. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. I'll see you at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with all the latest Bolton news and the president's field trip and the Fed speech and redistricting and Putin's surrender. Whatever happens.
Friday in August.
Whatever happens. Thank you, everybody. See you at 4.